So, as I was telling you, I created this presentation in order to, first of all, to look at what is the Common European Framework for Languages and how we can use it for our advantage here at Centro de Gestión Agroempresarial del Oriente. So the presentation has, first of all, the explanation of the Common European Framework of Reference. Most of this information is not, I mean, that I am just like a parrot and just sharing information that is already existing and that is in the, thank you very much, that is in the, in, thank you. And that information appears in the introductory guide to the Common European Framework of References, but is specifically for English teachers. That is something that is really good because it is not, you know that the Common European Framework is used by sociologists, anthropologists, linguists, people who work in didactics, but this is more focused on language teachers. Then we are going to look at the can-do statements for the Pre-A1 level, and finally the vocabulary bank for level Pre-A1 from the Cambridge English exam starters. Okay, what can you tell me? I mean, what do you know about the Common European Framework? Or what do you know it is the Common European Framework? Or what is the idea that you have?
It's like a huge reference bank that you have for language learning. Yeah, all the information that you need, they have gathered in just one big library, let's say. So whenever you want to, let's say, classify or you want to have a reference about the person's learning process, you go right to that framework. So you know what is an A1, what is an A2, B1, B2, C1. And that's a great tool for classifying the information, and we know what is the learners or the students' real level.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you want to add something? No? Okay, so this is in a great sense, that is the Common European Framework. I mean, it gives you a detailed description of what a learner can do in any specific level and any specific skill, and sometimes any specific sub-skill that is even more detailed. So it is really useful not only for teachers but for people who design materials, for people who make the policies in a state, for example, for the Ministry of Education, that they say, okay, we are going to classify in the first grade, in primary, they study this, in second, this, and they use that. I mean, everybody uses the Common European Framework, and it is like everybody, I mean, all the countries all agree that that is the document we have to use for languages. There are a lot of different documents. There are other documents, but this is the one that is like the more comprehensive and the one that has all the information for different languages. And the most widespread because of the press, like Cambridge, Oxford, all of them, they focus on that. So it is more widespread because of that. Okay, so I think you know about the different levels. There is some specific, they give them names. These names appears because of the first person who created a level of languages. I don't remember the name of the person, but he was like the first person who started doing this. And he just said, for example, that the first levels, they were called breakthrough, the way stage, threshold, vantage, effective operational proficiency, and mastery. But here at SENA, we are more just like focused on A1, A2, and maybe B1 if there is good weather. We will do that. Okay. So also, well, this is taken from that website, from the Common European Framework. There is this is like a general description, but there is also one exam that is um, like the most representative, and that is in quotation because Cambridge is the one like that has more participation in the Common European Framework. So they like put some different exams that they produce, and just for people to know what is the exam that can be taken depending on the level. Because of what has happened, we are going to focus on the starters, that is the Pre-A1. So A1 is divided into two, Pre-A1, that is like a false beginner, and then the beginner, that is the A1, and then continues to the A2, and like that. There are also different, in order for them to put, to use all the topics in one level, to say, for example, B1 is huge, because B1 is 350 hours more or less. So they divide it into B1.1, B1.2, B1 plus, for example. But for our case, that is Pre-A1, it is only Pre-A1. So this is some explanation. And this is very, this is so truth that sometimes we believe, okay, this is a beginner apprentice or a student, or sometimes we say just for our like point of view, our subjective point of view, that this is an intermediate, this is a beginner, but we don't have any clue until we test them. We need to test them in order to know, yes, this is a A1, yes, this is a Pre-A1, or is a B1. So that is why here at Sena some leaders created the Sena English test, which is something really, 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 I'm grateful for them, because of they did that, and we can use finally a test for our contest. Okay, in the Common European Framework, of course, uh, it is not enough to say this is a person who is an A1. So you are an A1, very good. No, we need to know what they can do when they are in an A1. And that is the reason why the can-do assignments were created depending on each one of the levels, and also detailing, like in detail for each one of the skills. And we are going to use that in order to create the learning guidelines. Yes, they can do the same. It's easier, and you know what is the objective you are pursuing in a class, for example, or in a collection of classes. You say, for example, okay, in these 3 classes, they are 5, 10, 15 hours, for example, 3 classes. I'm going to work on in these 15 hours, they will be able, or they will be able to write personal letters, for example. And you just focus on that. And it's easier to choose the activities, the material, because you have an objective. Okay, the Common European Framework, is used most of the time by teachers, but also for developing syllabuses, for creating tests and exams. You know that everybody is focused on numbers, and they need the statistics and everything. So it is really useful for that. Also for marking the exams, for evaluating the language learning needs, for designing courses, developing learning materials, describing the language policies, which I told you about, for example, the Ministry of Education. Also, by oneself, if you want to just to test yourself, if a person just takes the Common European Framework and he or she wants to learn by themselves, they can do it, because they have like all the things that they have to pursue, or the objectives they have to get, what are the can-do statements, what a student can do in each level, and they can self-assess like their path. and also for teacher training programs. That is something that is really useful for. So this is something I want everybody to know, because I want everybody to know because most of the times people who are not English teachers, they believe it's easy just to learn English or to teach English or any other language. I mean, this is not something that I say, it's not something that you say. I mean, this is the work of like 15, 20 years of only linguists, anthropologists, sociologists, pedagogists. I mean, everybody focus on educations, people who create curriculums and everything, and they all agree that these are the hours that a person needs in order to develop their language proficiency. I mean, only for A1 level, you need from 90 to 100 hours of face-to-face classes. I mean, this is not considering your autonomous work. This is only face-to-face classes. So, and this is something to consider by people, I mean, by people from SENA in Bogota, or general, the management, that is, sometimes it is not real that we are going to have 300 or 400 hours, for example, in here, in order to get to a B1 level. Yeah, I mean, everything should be structured in order to help this, obviously, but this is something that it must be known, because it is not so easy to get a student apprentice from A1 to B1, and even in our case, from pre-A1
Yeah.
to B1. I mean, it's a lot of work, but this is something that, I mean, it should be known. Okay, let's focus a little bit on what it is important for us. That is the pre-A1 level. I mean, the Common European Framework divides the information in reception, interaction, and others. As you can see, these ones, I mean, it's huge. This is the ones that they have for pre-A1 reception. It's a lot. And they are divided into communicative language activities, and they are divided also in audiovisual comprehension, oral comprehension, reading comprehension, and this is only reception. I mean, only listening and reading, no more. The receptive skills, it's reading and listening. But they also have the other, that is the interaction, and that is the one that you have for written production and oral production. And as you can see, they are a lot. But also they also have another one that is called mediation. And this is all those strategies that we use in order to understand something when maybe we don't have the level. Like, for example, signaling, asking for confirmation, stuff like that. Yeah. For example, let's look at some of those here. Let's look at one from here. For example, for the activity for mediating with a test, mediating a test, when a student is given a test that is too difficult, for example, this is the descriptor for that. Can relay in language B simple instructions about places and times given the language A, provided this repeated very slowly and clearly. It is very specific. I mean, the Common European Framework is really specific in those different descriptors. But as I told you before, the idea is that we use one that is front test. I mean, that is that was created for language testing, so they are not that many, and we can just reduce and delimit them. And finally, we have here, that is the other one, that is production. So as you could see, there are at least 45 different can-do things. So don't worry, do not worry, please. This is not, we are going to use these ones, but not all of them.